I know you see me making a lot of vegan food and you're probably like, how do I get it to taste right? And how do I get it to remind me of meat dishes that I don't want to eat anymore? Be clear. If you don't want to eat meat dishes anymore, it's okay to make your vegetables remind you of meat. There's nothing wrong with that. There's a lot of people on the internet who have a big problem with it, but that's their problem. It's not your problem, right? So in this video, I'm going to show you how, the kind of tools that you need, the kind of things, the way that I use certain tools so that you can get your food to be the right texture, consistency, size, things like that, so that it's more appealing, that your fruits and vegetables, your plants are more appealing, and you want to stay cooking and eating vegan longer. So with that, here we go. Let's start with the food processor. You are going to need a food processor. This one was a pretty inexpensive one that I had for a while. But the more that I started cooking more fruits and vegetables, it just could not hold up. So I do recommend that you get a substantial one if you can. But start off with the cheap one if you want. And when I say cheap, last I checked, they were around $100, somewhere between 100 and 200 bucks. Right here, I'm making some pesto, and it's a little bit of a struggle for me. I have to open it up and move it around a few times, but eventually I do get it done. So it does get the job done. I made some pesto sauce for a pizza that I was making. So the food processor worked very well for that. A lot of times you have to blend up maybe nuts or sauces or pesto, things like that, cheeses. So a good food processor is necessary. Now this one I paid a lot for, over $1,000, but it is really a workhorse, and it has other attachments as well. And I really love this. This is a high end. You might not want to spend over $1,000 for yours, but maybe upward to five, somewhere between 5 and 6 would be good, because you're always going to have it. And you do have a lot of times that you just need to food process things, because vegetables have a plant cell wall that needs to be broken down if you want to make it easily digestible, if you want to make it taste like something else. Having the ability to do that with a good food processor is just, I cannot overstate the importance of that. But I'm going to show you some options later on how to get one for even cheaper, and something that's more convenient if you have like a small apartment or you're just by yourself. So here again, I'm showing you the examples of my high-speed blender and what I use it for, like a bunch of garlic if I'm doing holiday cooking. Or this is a slicer attachment here. It sliced up all these mushrooms for me. Same food processor, but just a different attachment. Slicing up all this kind of shrimp. And this is vegan shrimp. If I'm trying to do like a gumbo or something, or greens, slicing up greens here. This way I get to use the stems as well, which makes the greens more tasty and more nutritious. But it doesn't take me any time to get them in that chiffonade shape that I need to make nice, soft, supple, yummy greens. And then I also made them raw here, and then here they are cooked. So these are opportunities to use your food processor. Now also, speaking of slicing, I sometimes slice with a mandolin, because if I want to make my portobello mushrooms like into roast beef or deli slices, or even my beets into deli slices, and various things that you might want to slice, a mandolin is good. And make sure that you're always using your guard, so you're protecting your hands, so you're not slicing off your fingertips. And sometimes they're even gloves. Some sets come with gloves, and I'm going to go ahead and put in the description a lot of these tools on my Amazon store, so that you can get them for yourself. Okay. But yeah, so if you want to slice down, this is good if you're making deli slices, or this is for a salad or something. Get a mandolin slicer. And this one is very, very inexpensive. So if you don't have the food processor slicer piece, this one works very good, and you work some calories. So burn off some calories. So hey, win-win, right? So that was one inexpensive option. Now here's another one. This is a hand chopper. You can get this whole set. It comes with a stick blender, hand chopper, whisker, whipper, all for somewhere between $100 or so, but it has so many things that it does. Um, and again, I'll put this in the description. But this is good if you're like a single person, you're traveling, you you just don't have a lot of money, you don't have a lot of space, you live like a place in New York or something where the space is limited. This is a great little small mini chopper hand food processor, right? Here I made some pecan meal, super easy. You can use this to chop up your sauces. And if you have big batches, you just take it in small batches at a time until you get everything that you need. I use this also to chop up mushrooms. Here I'm making a pecan and mushroom um, ground meat, and I used my hand chopper for that, and it worked out just perfect. And I used that inside of my shepherd's pie, which was yummy. And you can also use it inside of tacos, which I did here. Here I'm blending up some sun-dried tomatoes and garlic. This is for extra flavor that I used inside of a lasagna ground meat. So sometimes you just need flavor like this for various things that you're cooking. A little sun-dried tomato and fresh garlic goes a long way with flavor. You know, a lot of times you have to use, these are like aromatics inside of your food to really flavor it up. And so you want to blend that down to make it happen. Now here I have some soaked cashews, and I'm making a little cashew cream again in my hand chopper, and all of that works together. Like, this thing mashes my potatoes amazingly, and I just love it for that. And this is all a set together. Again, if you need to chop things like nuts, you might want to put some chopped nuts on top of a salad or yogurt or things like that. It's cheaper to buy them whole, so you want to chop them up yourself. Hand chopper is a great way to do that for whatever you might need chopped nuts for, because when you are eating plant-based, buying things like nuts in bulk is a good thing to do. So that's why you would want to chop it yourself, to preserve it, and also to just buy them less expensive. Here I'm making an avocado cream with my stick blender. This is really ripe avocados, and this is actually a sweet cream. So avocado, some agave, and just a little plant milk makes a nice little sweet cream that I actually used over my coffee. So you got to get creative as well in this, because this is a way to get a little extra nutrients inside. Avocado has a little protein. It definitely has fiber, and it has great nutrients, and you can use it in things like your coffee. I also use my hand chopper to make things like chopping down my nori sheets. Again, you can buy nori sheets. They're less expensive if you buy them whole, and then you go ahead and chop them down instead of buying chopped up seaweed, which is a lot more expensive. And here I use it to make myself a vegan oysters Rockefeller. I chopped up the spinach as well, the cashew cream, and it was very, very yummy. And the vegetables, all of that with my hand chopper. Now, another thing I suggest that you're going to need eventually is a good blender, right? If you want to make smoothies, you want to make vegan cheese, you want to make sauces, you want to make vegan nacho cheese, things like that, you need a good high-speed blender, right? This I made some vegan Creole crab dip with my vegan high-speed blender. Because here I made the cream that I needed. I made it out of onions, potatoes, soaked cashews, and then I seasoned it up with Creole dip and crab dip and seaweed, and then mixed my spinach and made a Creole crab dip. So again, high-speed blender, very important, or, food processor, but high-speed blender is going to make it nice and smooth. And then you need a juicer. Now, these are two different kind of citrus juices that I'm showing you. These are the hand ones, because you're going to use citrus juice a lot to put into dressings and things like that. Hand juiced orange juice or grapefruit juice, which is better because it's not like the orange juice that you buy in the supermarket, which has a lot of sugar. This nice fresh juice is better for you. And so I have this electric juicer here. You just put your citrus in there and it juices itself. Now, another kind of juicer is a cold press juicer, masticating juicer. That is the same thing. And I really recommend this kind of juicer as opposed to centrifugal juicer. Um, because you're just going to get 40% more juice. Yes, it does cost a bit more money, but in the long run, when you spend your fruits and your vegetables, money on your fruits and your vegetables, you want to get the most juice out of it you can. So getting a slow press is good. This is another kind, a little less work. So the one I showed you before, you have to do a little bit more chopping. This one, you have to do a lot less chopping, but it takes more time to juice. So you just have to kind of let it go while it does its thing. The other one, it's a little faster. An air fryer, I recommend getting an air fryer to fry up your vegetables, say your okra fries, or you want to make oyster fried mushrooms, things like that. I also recommend an electric pressure cooker. You could also get a pressure cooker on the stove as well, but this electric one is good because it turns off. So once you set it, you can walk away and you come back sometime later and your food is cooked as though it's been cooking all day or for hours, but a lot of times it's only been cooking for about under 20 minutes. And all the nutrients are stay inside because the lid keeps it all secure so you don't lose any of the nutrients through steam. So your food is very nutrient dense, cooked very well, very flavorful, and this is a pretty affordable. Somewhere you can get a small one for under $100 and a larger one for under $200, but they last a long time. Mine is a little beat up, but it still lasts a very long time, and I use it several times a week in order for me to make my fruits and veggies feel like they have been cooking for a very long time, but they've only been cooking for 20 minutes or less, which I love. I do sweet potatoes, greens, all kinds of things. Now, a grater is also important because a lot of times you want to use little bits of aromatics or things inside of your food. This is ginger, which I usually freeze my ginger and then I bring it out and grate it for when I need it. This grater is also good for zesting, getting the zest off of lemon and limes and putting it into your food. And also, if you have a whole vegan Parmesan rind, this is great for grating that into your dish. So this little microplane grater is really great to have. There's other kinds of graters. Now this is a box grater, but it's in a round shape. I use it to grate my cheese. This is vegan cheese that I'm grating here. Now, this is not necessarily a grater, but kind of on the same vein, a garlic press. And I do prefer fresh pressed garlic because it just has medicinal purposes. It's better to use. I also recommend you get good knives, and not just one, but several. All kinds of different good knives, because sometimes you need a big, thick knife to cut off skin. You need a thin knife to cut things thinner. You need a serrated knife to cut things that are soft. So having a good knife is so important, and to have several. And yes, knives are not necessarily inexpensive, but when you have them for a long time and you can get them sharpened, it's a good thing. Now, if you buy a Cutco knife, you can send it back to them and they will sharpen them for you, send them back to you nice and sharp. And I've done that. I think the total cost was $20 because it's free, but then you have to pay for the shipping of the knives. So very good deal. They sent them back nice and sharp. It's actually time for me to send mine back off again. But all kinds of different knives, different sizes and shapes. Don't just grab the same knife every time thinking that it's going to do the same job. Like, get to know your knives and choose which one is best, because the vegetables have all kinds of textures, and so same with fruits. They have peelings that have to be removed, and all different things you have to do with your knives. I also recommend you get a vegetable peeler. And it's, as you can see here, I'm using it to slice thin my king oyster mushroom. So it's not just always to take the skin off of a vegetable. It's also sometimes to just quickly make something thin that you need thin. I use these little slices to mimic cheesesteak. So I use king oyster mushroom to make myself a little cheesesteak here, and I use my vegetable peeler for that. Here I'm peeling a watermelon radish, which has a little bit of a tough skin, but a vegetable peeler makes it easy to take that skin off. I also want you to consider getting a steamer. This is my tri-level steamer. It's good for steaming up different vegetables, but also when you're steaming things like seitan and different items that you need steamed. And you need to use your steamer quite a bit when you're cooking vegan. So make sure that you have one. You can get one over the stove, or you can get the kind that's standalone electric, like I have the tri-base one. They come in all different kinds of ways, bamboo, foldable, whatever you do. It's important that you have a steamer because you're going to want it. I think specialty pans make cooking vegan easy as well. I'm using this one here to make a McGriddle, and this pan really helped it to make it easy. Also, some non-stick cupcake pans and cast iron pans. Just consider all the different pans that you would need to make things easier, because sometimes vegan items are not get stuck. So you want to make sure you have good non-stick. If you use cast iron, you get a little iron into your blood just from cooking with the cast iron. So do consider that. And I use it for various things like frying and corn. And again, this is my hex-clad non-stick that makes it easy. I used it here for braising my smothered vegan chicken. A flat griddle is something also to consider to have. This was my cast iron one here. If you want to have a little grill, maybe a little crisp to an item, and you want to cook it with ease, being able to flip it easily, a flat griddle is a good thing to have. I have several. This is my cast iron one. Again, I'm going to get the iron inside of my body with a little cast iron, but I also have a non-stick here that's going to give my things like a potato a nice little grill, a nice little fry, and super easy. You don't have to worry about trying to scrape it up from the sides because it's on a nice flat griddle. So when you can, I definitely recommend that you get yourself a griddle if you want your veggies to be nice and crispy and to have maybe a little char on them. When you are buying pans, remember to consider lids, because you need lids to do things like make your cheese melt, like I'm doing right here. I'm using a little water and a lid, and that's going to make my cheese melt. I'm using it again here. When I made my McGriddle, I used a lid that came with the pan. So make sure that you think about your covers, and that also includes things like parchment paper and wax paper, things that you need to cover. Sometimes foil if you want. I don't use a lot of foil. This may seem like a simple thing, but if you need to make your own dressings and sauces and things, jars are very important to have. If you're making your own mayonnaises, anything, your own cheese, you're going to need a lot of jars. So save them when you buy them, because you're definitely going to need them for when you make things. Like here, I made some relish, and you're going to need them. So definitely save your jars. Now this whole section I'm going to call strainers. I'm going to call mesh, nut bags, also funnels. You need all of these things if you're making your own juices. Like I made cranberry juice here. You're making your own nut milk. You're making sauces that you love. Your own tomato sauce, maybe your own pepper sauce. All of these things are essential. Your funnels, your strainers, your mesh. You're going to need it. It makes your life so much easier if you have these things, and it makes you feel a lot more confident about making things on your own. And sometimes you make something that's so good that you just have to jar it up or save it or freeze it, and you need these tools to make sure that you're able to do that safely. And in this section also comes strainers for making sure your vegetables are clean, because you got to wash them very well. Making sure you have colanders, that you're rinsing out pasta and you're rinsing out vegetables. So just things with holes, you need them. And if you notice, I use a little vegetable wash. You're going to need that as well. I'm loving these silicone ice cube They come in 1 cup size, half a cup size, cup size. You can make ice cubes. You can put soup in these things. I love them. Now here is another um, appliance that I really, really love because I talked about this earlier. When you make something that's super, super yummy, you want to be able to save it and freeze it. So I have this food saver here that I love, and I put my yummy things inside of my food saver so that I can freeze them for later. And you can have food, a soup that you like here. You can have it for up to a couple months if you need to. So I definitely recommend when you're ready, get this food saver because food is just too expensive for us to waste it. And you can save small portions and eat it later. Now, a whisk. You're going to need these for your grits and your gravies and your sauces, so just get one. This is another little fancy contraction. You don't have to get it, but if you want to make carrot sticks or you want to make your own French fries, you want to make celery sticks, this is a really great thing to have because you don't have to cut everything by hand. Because one of the things that happens with vegan cooking is people complain about how much they have to cut. So as many of these little contraptions, these little gadgets that you get to make it easier for you to cut, the better. Same here, whether you want to make yourself some raw noodles or you want to make some vegetable noodles, get yourself a spiralizer. You will not regret it. You're not going to use it every day, but when you want to use it, you can use it as often as possible without feeling burdened by this process.